I want you to think of codependency as being on a spectrum of sorts, where you have full dependence on one side and self reliant independence on the other end. There is a happy medium between those two that is referred to as interdependence, where the relationships aren't spaces for one person to be saved or fixed, but where both parties are healing and evolving, where both parties lean into one another in healthy ways, where they can each have their own interests and hobbies that are unique to them and separate from their partner while also enjoying shared activities together, where each person feels safe and comfortable meeting their own needs, but also vulnerably allowing the other party to meet their needs in moments. I think one of the reasons that it never occurred to me that I was codependent was because of how independent I was. I grew up in a home where I had to grow up fast and learned very quickly how to meet my own needs, how to spend time alone, cook for myself, take care of my younger brother. So I knew how to take care of myself. And I took pride in the fact that I was well educated and always excelled in my academics and career aspirations. So if you resonate with this, maybe mom and dad were busy working and counted on you to take care of your younger siblings. Or maybe you were the youngest and your older siblings were much older. So you learned how to manage on your own because you were left alone a lot. Or maybe you grew up feeling like you just couldn't depend on anyone else. Maybe your mom and dad were dealing with their own issues, so you felt like you couldn't really trust anyone and that no one was safe and reliable. So, out of necessity, you became independent. Independence is actually a form of codependency because it's reacting to not needing anybody. Super independent people often thrive off of being needed and being the strong one. They find pride and security and safety in the fact that they don't need to look to other people in order to get their needs met. But at the same time, they will thrive off of being the hero who can help other people. But being in a position of vulnerability is terrifying for those people. Independence becomes their fortress for how they can protect themselves. I don't need anyone. So, in essence, independence is just another side of the same codependency coin. And the goal is to meet in the middle where we can be interdependent, where we're not afraid of relying on someone and going to someone to get needs met in a moment, as long as they're not our main source. But we're also okay and feel safe and comfortable being independent, being able to get our needs met on our own. Interdependence is a middle ground where you feel safe having some needs with people, but you're not going to become fully reliant on someone else to meet all of your needs. And you won't allow people to become fully dependent on you. Codependency is often birthed from having a childhood where you missed out on being fully dependent on a mom or dad to take care of your every need. From the time we're born through about 12 years old, we're supposed to be fully dependent on our parents to meet all of our needs. And then the next dozen or so years gradually take us into a season of independence where we learn what we like, how to meet our own needs and to take care of ourselves, how to set boundaries and own our independence. And once we have experienced a season of both dependence and independence, then we are mature enough to finally enter into a season of interdependence. And if we progress through those two stages and learn how to do community and relationships well, we'll go from having dependence in our formative years to independence in our late teens and 20s, and then interdependence. But if we miss out on either one of those two developmental stages, then we're going to have some kind of reaction. We might consistently live in dependence or independence or codependence. I often share that my 18-month separation with my current husband ended up saving our relationship. And one of the reasons that I believe it did that is because it was the first time in my adult life where I had a season of true independence where I lived on my own and I was able to discover my own preferences and hobbies and desires. I now see it as an important season that everyone should have at some point in their life. And that's why this whole process is important, because you're learning how to be a person who knows how to get your needs met by connecting with love and compassion. You're learning to be a person who is connected with your wounded inner child that needs to develop and grow and mature and to grow in love and compassion so that you can mature and grow into interdependent relationships. Since I didn't get that dependency in childhood to the extent that I needed it, I reacted with independence to feel safer. I thought I was doing a good thing. I felt a lot of pride in how independent and self-sufficient and capable I was, even though I was slowly burning myself out. Women who didn't get their needs met in childhood often sacrifice everything to take care of others, all while secretly wishing that someone would take care of them. I'm actually a little embarrassed to admit this, but I used to fantasize about having to go to the hospital for a few days just so I could rest and have other people take care of me for a change. But independence is glorified in our culture, especially in women. But those same women are often deeply alone and deeply disconnected and miss out on healthy attachment and connection and the feeling that you get from interdependence and real intimacy, because it doesn't feel safe to be vulnerable in expressing our needs and letting people in like that. Interdependence requires that vulnerability, and that can feel scary. So there will be moments in your journey where you're leaning into vulnerability and interdependence, and you have huge fears that come up because it feels unsafe to have and express your needs. When you feel that fear coming to the surface, I want to let you know, first of all, that it's normal to feel that way. You are leaning into something that you've likely been avoiding for a really long time. It's new, it's different. It makes sense that it's going to feel uncomfortable. And your brain will interpret that uncomfortableness as being unsafe and high stakes. So you're likely to get triggered in those moments. So if and when that happens, just go back to what you've learned about processing through triggers. Take some deep breaths and ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? When did I start feeling that way? What is this reminding me of? Sit with that and process through the discomfort. Heal those parts of you that want to hold on to the defense mechanisms you've been using your entire life to get your needs met. They're no longer serving you. Throughout your healing journey, you can expect to toggle back and forth between independence and codependence, but the goal is to realize that there's another way to start leaning into vulnerability and interdependence more and more as you continue to learn how to get your needs met in healthier ways.